Welcome, everybody. I'm Laura Baker, and today we're going to talk about AI automations. I'm the executive director, and I'm also a cybersecurity business counselor for CyberWyoming. And this is a micro business series. It's truly for small businesses where we're trying to right size the topics for mom and pop businesses in Wyoming. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. And I hope you get a lot out of this. We won't take up the full hour unless we have lots of questions. CyberWyoming is a nonprofit organization. We don't sell hardware, software, or technology implementation services. Our mission is to educate small business leaders and the IT workforce that surrounds our economy. So here's our problem. When CyberWyoming, we're a small organization, as you all probably know. We have 2 part-time staff, and as of next week, we'll have 2 full-time staff. But we don't have a lot of staff. As you guys probably can imagine, a lot of small nonprofits and small businesses in Wyoming, you wear a lot of hats. So our problem was that we wanted to make cybersecurity less serious. So we came up with the idea of sending a tech joke every week out on Mondays, because, jokes always make Mondays more fun. And we thought, how are we going to implement this without having to touch the joke, find the mailing list, put a new joke in, create the template each week, or create a template and pop it into the template each week and manually send it. And what we had a lot of problems with this, because when you think about it, we'd have to go out to our MailChimp, product. We'd have to go out to our Google product. Are we going to send it from our personal work email addresses? Do we want to send it from a general work email address? So we thought about it a lot, and we decided we needed to automate it. And here's what we did. So in 2024, this kind of touched off our goal to automate as much as we can. We started with this in 2023 in the fall, and we really are looking at our customer engagement and our marketing efforts for automation. So walking you through this joke of the week is what we're going to go through. And this is probably the most complex automation that we've created. A lot of them are simpler because this one linked 4 different products. And I think you'll like the result. So you already know Gmail and Google Sheets, I'm assuming, but you may not be familiar with MailChimp. It's like Constant Contact or HubSpot, and we use it to send out our weekly newsletter and acknowledge customers when they sign up for our sign up on our website for our services. Zapier is an integration product. There's a free version, but for this automation, we needed more capabilities beyond the free version. So we purchased the $20 a month license after ensuring that the joke of the week worked with the trial version. Now, there are other alternatives to Zapier, and I'd encourage you to Google research and use the 7-day free trials that are offered to find the best one for you. But here's what we did to automate this joke of the week. So in Zapier, they call the integration programs Zaps. The first Zap we had to set up was the integration between Google Sheets and MailChimp. So what happens is that when someone signs up for the joke of the week on CyberWyoming's Contact Us website page, the integration with MailChimp was already there. We had a MailChimp form on that Contact Us page. So what we want to do is designate a person that signs up for the joke of the week as the joke of the week group in MailChimp. But what we had to add was a way to get the current joke to that registrant each week. And MailChimp couldn't handle content that changed every week. We would have had to create a new campaign every week with new jokes, and we really didn't want to do that. And we didn't want to have to manually enter the new joke each week and then also check for new subscribers each week, because that's going to take up about a half an hour each week to figure this out and make sure we didn't resent that joke before. So the next Zap was actually sends the joke every Monday, and this Zap is a lot more complex, so I'll talk about it later in a lot more detail because it was 8 steps within the Zap, but it integrated all of these products as well: Gmail, Google Sheets, Zapier, MailChimp, and more. Our third zap was removing unsubscribers. Now we thought about this afterwards, right? Oh gosh, what if somebody wants to unsubscribe? So we had to use Zapier again, but we also had to add in a Google app script to our mailing list sheet that is in Google. And I'll tell you why we did that in a few minutes. The app script sounds hard because it is code, but it's just an extension that you can add to a Google Sheet that allowed you to execute that code. And I want to tell you that I did this myself, and I'm no longer a coder. I coded way back in the 90s, but it's been a really long time and I'm not very good at it. And all I did was go out to the Google App Scripts examples, find one that worked for me, and I copied and pasted. It worked great. So you don't have to be a coder for this. You could also ask a product like ChatGPT to create that code for you. So let's take a closer look at the first zap, Zap 1, which was the subscribe to the joke of the week. First, we created an account through our Google account, our Google Suite, called Joke of the Week at cyberwyoming.org. This Joke of the Week account is used only for the Joke of the Week and only to send it. Then we set up the integration in Zapier. And I like Zapier because it uses plain language. If there's a new subscriber in MailChimp, right here, then it's supposed to create a spreadsheet row and add that subscriber. And you can see these screens here. You can see that we have the Joke of the Week and the joke mailing list. I've redacted some of the actual data that we were testing with, but it says this is the name of the Google Sheet. This is, how you can have more tabs. It was sheet 1 within this worksheet. So this one was pretty easy. I actually did this one myself. The second one was a little more complex, and it takes 8 different steps. The first step is the time. We send out the Joke of the Week every Monday morning at 10 a.m. And the second step looks up the joke in a Google Sheet called Future Jokes. So it's 2 Google Sheets now. And it looks it up from the bottom up, okay? And so it's looking for a row that has something called blank row in it. And I'm going to show you what that looks like next. So this is what the Future Jokes spreadsheet looks like. And it's redacted here just for privacy. But you can see down here that we've got this blank row. That's what it's actually looking for. We didn't actually need the email and the date. We thought we would need it at first. So I don't, when we replace this or update it, we'll probably just take those out. But we didn't want to mess with it because we finally got it working. The Zap looks at the joke and the row, this column C and column D, and they're off a little bit because I copied and pasted some more data in there so you could see the blank row, but you can get the gist of it. And then it knows to just take the joke right above this blank row. So, well, if it isn't autocorrect, brought to you by, and that, and it cites where the joke came from. So how does it know? Step 3 is how it knows. We set the parameters in step 2 to look up the spreadsheet row in the Google Sheets by the code to identify the first blank row. And with this third step, this code, we did need some help. We contracted with a really talented student in Rock Springs to help us with this code. And if you want her name and contact information, let me know, and I will definitely give you a referral. Based on working with us, she's actually starting her own business providing these types of integration services through Zapier to small businesses. We also needed our talented students' help with step 4. This code returns the row number above the last blank row. So it would return row number 63. And when our talented student wrote this code for us, she said, don't mess with this ever. So we don't. I guess it's pretty important. And she said, don't change the spreadsheet without talking to me first. And so we don't do that either. And she actually wrote up all the documentation for us, so we know not to mess with it in case we forget. Now, step 5 takes that row number of the joke pulled from this future joke spreadsheet and actually pulls the joke itself and copies it. And that's called this popped value. That's what she named it. So back to the joke mailing list, we get to step 6. And step 6 pulls the subscriber to the tech joke of this pulls the subscribers from the joke mailing list sheet to the tech joke of the week. So we're back to the joke mailing list sheet. So we're going back and forth. One holds the jokes, one holds all the subscribers to the jokes. And step 7 combines the joke with the subscribers. All the subscribers are in on the blind copy right here, and to protect their personal information. So, you know, the joke, what did the computer have during its break time? It had a byte, came from the future joke spreadsheet, and the recipients in the BCC field came from the joke mailing list spreadsheet. And all of this is a template that we set up in Zapier. So this is actually one image that we're calling through our next step in Zapier. So step 7 uses this basic HTML code, and you can see that we have the HTML image, which is called horsefunny.png, stored on our website, so Zapier can easily get to it because they'd already had our website credentials, and honestly, anybody could get to that link. This is basic HTML code. Font size is the font size. BR is a carriage return. Image source is the horse picture and our logos. And then SMail is the unsubscribe message. And yes, our talented student helped us with this code as well. But I think this, if you know a little bit of HTML, or if you want to go out to the Educate HTML website, you could probably do this yourself too. The final step is step 8, and it deletes the joke we just used in the future jokes list, and it adds the blank row identifier in the popped value instead of the row number. And pictured before, it used to be line 63. So if you look at line 63, what it would do is it would remove this joke, take the words blank row, and put them in line 63. So we do have a calendar reminder on our staff calendar so that when this future joke spreadsheet runs out, all we have to do is copy and paste the jokes from another spreadsheet called All the Jokes and the row numbers back into the future joke sheet, and we're done. So it's really actually pretty easy. And since it goes from the bottom up, we would copy them to the top. So maybe when we get to the last week where we have a joke, we would copy them, we would insert lines and add all the copies, all of it in. As an aside, you may notice that we have attributions for some of these jokes. We did check to make sure that we were legally allowed to use them in our joke of the week. So always check copyrights. Don't forget about that. So now let's look at the last zap, the zap 3, which is the unsubscribe zap. When someone unsubscribes using our unsubscribe link on the email, we need to make sure that we take them out of MailChimp and off the joke mailing list that's stored in Google Sheets. So when a subscriber hits unsubscribe down here on the joke mailing list, it starts this zap. The email has code that goes to MailChimp via the SMail HTML code that I pointed out before, and then Zapier instructs the same unsubscriber to be deleted from the joke mailing list. But we had a little bit of a problem, because what if I was the unsubscriber and my name starts with, my last name starts with a B, Baker, and maybe I'm 10th or 20th down in the spreadsheet. If I unsubscribed and my email was stored in that row 20, but the full sheet was over 100 rows, it's possible that the Zap emailing everyone the joke would stop at row 20 because row 20 was the first blank row because that person unsubscribed and left a blank row. And this is exactly what happened in our testing. So what we did is we installed Google Apps Script on our joke mailing list worksheet. Now this is an extension, and it triggers each time there's a change in the worksheet. So you can see the change here, the select event type on change. So anytime something's added, anytime something is deleted, even if I go in and change the name spelling, manually, it would still sort. And what it does is that trigger causes the sort to occur. So if you look at the sort, it says the range is A2 through C500. That's your spreadsheet range. So I realized that if our joke mailing list grows above 500, right now it's at about 100, but if it grows about 500, then we're going to need to come back in and check this and make this go to C1000 or something like that. And I could easily go to C20,000, but it's just going to slow down the process a little bit. So I didn't want to go too far. The app scripts is just an extension that you can put on any Google Sheet, and then you can use it to perform a very routine function like sort on change. The sort just removes the blank row and puts it at the bottom. So who is our talented student? Kanicki Integrations is the business that she started, and we would be happy to share her contact information with you. Her name is Heidi Kanicki, and she's in Rock Springs. And what Heidi did was she researched the products that would best fit our needs. She programmed the harder zaps. She helped us test the zaps, and she documented the automation. We did a bunch of stuff too, and we're able to do the simpler zaps on our own now with Heidi's initial help. But we still have a few complex ones that she's helping us with this summer. The joke of the week was the hardest automation, and we have a 2-page list of other automations that we're currently working on. Our goal is to get everything we want automated by the end of 2024. And most of them are, yes, marketing functions, so they're public functions. It all starts with our website registration page. So if you're going to automate, make sure that your contact us page is set up the way you want and integrated with your client communications product of choice, whether it's Constant Contact or MailChimp or whatever you use. Make sure that the groups here, where it says CyberWyoming groups, these groups are separate, are set up in MailChimp for us. And that's what's helped us trigger a lot of these automations. One of the more complex automations that we're about to start with Heidi is automating requests for information about our apprenticeship program. Probably 3 or 4 times a week, I get emails from all over the country saying, can I have more information about your apprenticeship program? And the first thing we have to do is write back and say, what state do you live in? Because our program's only for Wyoming businesses and Wyoming IT professionals. But at the same time, a lot of these students or people that are entering the IT workforce, they don't quite know where to start when it comes to looking for jobs. So, or apprenticeships in their own state. So I actually started a spreadsheet years ago about, if you're in Maine, this is where you go to look for apprenticeships in Maine. And here's some other suggestions just for professional tips about how to get experience if you don't have any, and if you just have, maybe a couple of years of community college. So we have it all mapped out, and we're trying to remove the man out of manual. And yes, you're welcome to laugh at that one. It's kind of a bad one. But even if you don't want to go with a product like Zapier, here are some automation tips that may be useful. In Windows 11, if you hold the Windows button down and choose H, it will turn on dictation, and you can dictate into PowerPoint, Word, your email, whatever. And thank you, Karen's on the call. She's the one that told me about this one, so I'm going to give her credit for this. And so obviously this works in email too. I showed you how this dictation works. I hit the Windows button and H, and I said, this works in email too. And here we are. Excuse me. And don't forget about browser extensions. Now, of course, you should check and make sure that these are safe. Do a little bit of research on them just to make sure they're safe. And we did do that. We did discuss that in our last webinar. If you need the recording, let me know. So we implemented 2 browser extensions that we researched and thought were okay for us. And we are using a password manager, and you can see in the upper right-hand corner that we have our MailChimp user ID and password stored in the password manager. So when I want to pre-fill this, I just click on the password manager, the blue icon, and I choose the ID that I need, and it fills it in, and I can log in. No more looking at passwords, mistyping, or copying and pasting. And password managers allow me to share a password with someone else in my organization in a way that they can't actually see the password, but they can use it. So I love that feature too. And then Zoom has a great plugin for Google Calendar and Microsoft's equivalent calendar. When scheduling a meeting, I just choose the Make It a Zoom meeting button, which is installed on my browser as an extension as well. And I don't have to go back and forth between applications. What I found is the minutes count. and the little things really make a difference. So in 2023, we sat down and determined what we really needed. We identified repetitive tasks that took up too much time. Then we talked to our web designer to make sure our contact us page was set up just right. And finally, we did some product research and figured out what we may need to use to make our automation dreams come true. And in the process, we found our talented student, Heidi. So, what questions do you have about automations? And I'm going to stop the recording.